This feels like grooming. It does. Welcome back to Life is Strange 2. Last time we played, we caught up with our mother. Very unexpected. Just so out of the blue. I knew that that was coming. A part of me did, just not now. We have a meeting. Very secret meeting. It's all very... I mean, when we use the word cult, I don't expect a lot of this to be out in the air. Anyways, back to the game. The meeting point. At this point, I have no idea what I should be expecting, which is both thrilling and terrifying. This is...
He's gonna show up.
Be so awkward.
He better. He promised.
Or what?
Well, if he doesn't find us, we'll find him.
It's like they've watched...
I can't believe how much crap you guys have been through.
Too many action movies. Or else.
Makes me want to punch in the face each and every asshole that got in your way.
Yeah. Good thing we got to meet amazing people too.
I like how she's ignoring the fact that, like, she could technically be classified as one of those people who got in their way. Anyways.
Life on the road is all about that. The sweet encounters.
Hope I can see them again someday.
Oh, you will. So tell me about Daniel. What's he like?
Little rascal, he's special or cool kid. This is a lot of, like, how do we see our brother? It also feels like an unfair question because one way of describing somebody is not an accurate representation of their entire personality, I guess. As in, two things can be true at the same time. So he can be a cool kid, but also a little shit. Let's face it. We all have these things about ourselves. We can all be fantastic and have great, fantastic qualities about ourselves. We can also be shits. We can also make really shitty choices. This feels unfair. Cool kid, he's special, little rascal. Oh, I really want to say little rascal, but I don't want the game to take that the wrong way. He's special. Well, yeah, he has a power. Let's say cool kid.
He's a cool little kid. I just didn't want him to grow up so fast.
It's good you were there for him.
I like how we're just ignoring the fact that we were also forced to grow up very fast. Don't get me wrong. Daniel was forced to grow up very fast. Both of them were because of this traumatic situation. What about you, Sean? You were also forced to grow up extremely fast, unfairly fast. But when we're forced to be a parent, we don't recognize how hard this stuff hits us.
Heads up. Is that him?
Yep. Wait here.
How do you know? This is
Sean, what happened?
Such a contrast. Such a contrast. We have Jacob, who is coming in with, it looks like, his hair nicely done. He's with this nice white shirt. And we're coming in with this hoodie that has been, like, stitched up. And all of our clothes have been patched up. We have this actual eye patch, and there's a lot of dark colors, right? It looks like darker jeans. I can't remember. Darker hoodie. This, like, black eye patch. I don't even know where you could get the eye patch. Quite honestly. It's the kind of injury that doesn't feel common enough that, like, your regular, everyday pharmacy would carry that stuff around. Just very black and white contrast. Can you explain what were you thinking? Just explain. Let's start off nice.
Jake, I'm not mad, but you better explain everything.
I'm not mad. When you start a conversation that way, like if you feel the need to say that, it sounds like you're basically saying I am mad. All I can think about is all the times when parents are like, I'm not mad. Usually that sentence ends with I'm disappointed, or we know they really are mad. Like if you have to say that.
I didn't know where else to go. Listen, I saw Daniel come back to the camp that night. Like he was in shock or something.
probably
Then I heard all these sirens and I got scared. I packed a few things. I took a blanket from your tent and we left
Rude.
together.
You stole, I say after
I
I've
also
stolen a
kept
lot.
the cash you made on the farm. It's in my car.
Rude. You stole my cash or you did right. Ooh. I mean, that is a lot of thievery that has happened. And I recognize that I'm calling him out. Me as a player, I haven't yet in the game. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. We'll find out. But I've also stolen a lot of shit. I don't really feel like I have a lot of room to point blame at that. Point fingers. Whatever. You get what I mean? But we have this choice to actually do that in the game, to say, like, you stole my shit? Cash. Whatever. Or to say you did the right thing. And this is a conflicting choice for me because we've seen how this very fundamentalist religious situation place thing goes. This, like, how do I say this? With the hindsight that we have, it feels easy to say this is not a great choice. And I don't feel like there is such a thing as a right or wrong choice. And what I mean by that is, this is one of those tangents, like, brace yourself, pack up your bags, right? We're going on this together, or skip ahead, right? Whatever. Society often talks about it like there's a right choice or a wrong choice. But I don't agree with that. First of all, this is a very black and white way to look at the world. The other aspect of that is that whenever we make a choice based on all the information that we have at the time. Take this game, for example. I'm making choices based on all the information that I have at the time, and I'm making choices that I feel like will be the best or the most helpful, again, based on all the information that I have at the time. But then what happens is we look at the consequences of our choices and we say, well, I don't like this consequence. And we kick ourselves as though we should have known that at the time that we made the choice. So let's say I make whatever choice I'm going to make here, which is, again, I'm making the choice with all the information that I have in this current moment. But let's say 5 minutes from now, I'm like, oh, damn, I should have known better. I should have known that this choice would have brought this consequence. That's how we often talk about it. We talk about it as though I didn't like this consequence. Therefore, I should have known at the moment that that's what would have happened when I made this decision. And that's terrible. That's awful. We shame, blame, and guilt ourselves. So we talk about it oftentimes as though we should have somehow been able to see into the future and known that this is a terrible choice. And not even like a terrible choice, but like the consequences would have been terrible. But we can't tell the future. That doesn't make sense. And it's not really fair to shame, blame, and guilt ourselves when we, again, I've said this a lot, but I'm going to say it again, like we make all of our decisions based on the information that we have at the current moment. So every choice that we make, we feel like is going to be helpful for us or in some way, shape, or form. So if the choice didn't work out, that's not our fault. It's not really fair then to shame, blame, and guilt ourselves. There's also this idea, when we talk about it this way, we sort of talk about it as though there's only one other alternative. Again, the world is not that black and white, but we talk about it as though I should have known better, but also this other choice, as though there's only one other choice, would have had a better consequence. And we are assuming that the one other choice, again, not realistic, would have had a better consequence, or a consequence that we would have liked more, is really what we're saying there. And we don't know that. And we have no way to actually test that out. And that's what I mean when I say that there is no such thing as a right or wrong choice, because it's way too black and white. It's not realistic for how the world works when we make choices in our life. So this choice right here, when we're basically saying, you did the right thing, I feel like that is basically acknowledging the fact that in that moment, that character was making the choice that they thought was best based on all the information that they have at the time. That's what I feel like that choice is saying. It is hard for me as a player, though, with the hindsight that I have, to look at that and say, oh, of course that was a good choice. Because again, the hindsight of that is that I'm able to look at that already knowing the consequences of that choice and say, I like that. Like, I feel like sometimes being able to recognize the impact of hindsight, the impact of being able to look back and say, I now know the consequences of my actions and how that changes how we look at things, that can be very powerful. It can be very powerful with how we look at ourselves. And that's something that we can use in our actual lives. Because I feel like that is an element that's coming into play when I look at these choices that I'm making in the game here. So I don't want to blame him for stealing. So I guess if I take that idea of hindsight out of the picture, saying that they made the right choice based on all the information and the resources that they had at the time feels valid.
You did right, Jake. Thank you.
You have no idea what he looked like when I found him that night, Sean. He was in bad shape, with a gunshot wound, and all by himself.
I also feel like these comments would potentially be really hard to hear, considering it's like, I also lost an eye. Like, yes, really hard for our brother. But we also had some trauma from that night.
I couldn't just leave him there.
So you came back here, or what about the others? Yeah, what about the others? But, like, we also at least know what happened to the others, so I don't feel like asking about that. I am more curious about this character and why they saw here as a sanctuary. There's all that religious trauma that has been hinted at, but has not fully been talked about. I guess that is sometimes the nature of trauma.
So,
sometimes.
You came back here after you escaped, but
Yes.
with a dazed little boy, and everybody was cool with that?
Trust me, it was not an easy thing for me to come back. And, yeah, they took us in. That's what they do here. They take people in.
Except they didn't want to take me in yesterday.
I can see this group of people taking people in because it's almost like let's take people in because that adds to our numbers. I guess that's what I'm picturing. Because they seem to take people in and they don't let them go. I feel like that is particularly true with Daniel because it is advantageous for this group to hold on to Daniel because of the powers. But even in general, right? If they convince people to stay, their group becomes stronger and bigger, that kind of thing. It doesn't seem like the kind of thing where it's like, I guess I'm picturing it like a hospital where people are there, like the hospitals take people in, right? There's all that financial and insurance-y stuff that I'm like, that's completely separate. But like hospitals will take people in, help them, and then let them go. So like the hospital doesn't inherently grow to have more people who are working as part of the hospital. This group of people, though, is almost like a hospital that would take people in, but then like once they heal you or help you, you have to stay and work at the hospital. It's a different feeling.
Telling you to be careful with the Reverend Mother. She's waited her whole life
We were
for
not.
somebody like Daniel.
Careful.
The Reverend knows how to manipulate people.
We found that out, didn't we? Oh. I can only imagine how hard it would be for this character where there's all of this religious trauma. And like they knew this. They knew what this place was like and who like the kind of person that the Reverend is. And they still came back here thinking that this was their only other option. Like that must have been such a hard choice because they do see Daniel as a kid and like this scared, traumatized kid who had a gunshot wound and is like, what else do you do? Where else is safe? And they talk about this as though they didn't see this place as safe. And they recognize that, but they still saw nowhere else to go. So there's a part of me that looks at that like, how else do we see the world to where literally the rest of the world is so much worse than this place? Because they don't talk about this place as though it's safe or sacred or anything like that. They talk about it as though it is horrible, manipulative place, almost like very Game of Thrones. And if you haven't seen Game of Thrones, I don't feel like this is too spoilery. This is like very first episode-y, where it's very Game of Thrones, where there's so much backstabbing that happens, maybe literally, to the point where it's like, you have no friends. You constantly have to watch. It makes me think of that quote from Cersei where it's like, when you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. I'm maybe misquoting that. Anyways, that's what the feeling that I get here. Very political, very constantly out to get someone type of a thing. But yet, how do we see the rest of the world to where literally strangers feel less safe than here?
She's good at this. He wants to stay with her. Daniel has faith in the Reverend now.
But Daniel's also had very little experience. Like, Daniel's had very little experience in life. It is not his fault that this happened. And again, I imagine that the Reverend has been doing this since she was a child, just because, like, this is how her needs have been met. It doesn't make it okay. This is just like an explanation. And then we can talk about generational trauma. There's a lot that can, like, cause this, and it doesn't necessarily make it okay, but sometimes having that explanation, I guess, helps, I guess. But it's not Daniel's fault that he can't see through this. He's a child. He has had less life experience. It's also not, in the same way, it's not Jacob's fault, because he is the same victim. Like, he's fallen. He has experienced trauma that is a product of this, I guess. It is not his fault. So one of these choices is like, how could you do this? What, you did nothing, or I'm not afraid of her. So this choice of saying you did nothing feels victim blamey. Because yes, Jacob brought our brother here, but I feel like that is a part of his own trauma, and like how his own trauma was showing up. And when we've had very little information about someone's trauma, which is sort of the nature of trauma, there's a lot of avoidance with it. It can be very hard to see that. And sometimes, even when we are trying not to victim blame, sometimes we do, because we just don't know that that's what's happening. And then there's other times when it's like not accidental. It's just like full on choo-choo train of victim blaming coming through. So I don't want to blame him, because he has his own religious trauma that I feel like is showing up with this. The other choice is like, I'm not afraid of her. I feel like that's more in line with how I've been playing this, because I was very confrontational with the Reverend, to the point where I wonder if I wasn't as confrontational, if she wouldn't have pushed us out, pushed us away. Maybe we wouldn't even be having this conversation here, at least. I'm not afraid of her.
Yeah, not afraid of that Lisbeth of yours. I'm getting Daniel out of here.
Come on. There's no way they're gonna let you take him away.
Well, too bad.
I wonder then, I'm sure that Jacob has to have heard about how confrontational we were. I'm sure that it got around somewhere, unless this... How I'm picturing this organization is I'm picturing the Reverend and whoever that gentleman was with the gun being somewhere high up in this organization. I'm sure other people saw, kind of like the kid, the little girl. I'm sure that people saw what happened, and I imagine that kind of gossip getting around. Especially because Daniel has been talking about his brother, so people know who we are. So I'm sure that there's some amount of gossip. I picture this almost like the type of gossip that happens in churches, where it's like around the coffee at the end of service type of thing. So like Jacob has to know that we were so confrontational with the Reverend. So I wonder if he knows that we can't just like waltz in there. They got fucking guns. We can't just like waltz in there. Then what is his plan? Like, what are his thoughts? Almost like, if we do everything for a reason, if we do everything for a purpose, what was his intention with coming here? Was his intention to get forgiveness? Was his intention to explain his story? If he knows that if he knows that we're not afraid of the Reverend, and we verbally spit in her face, what was he? It almost sounds like he doesn't have a plan for how we can then go about this, I guess. That's my thought. And then our mom comes up.
We're not going to ask for their permission. You must be Jacob.
Karen, they have guns! that they are very brazen with. Granted, they're not as big as that Big Joe's guns. It's not like assault rifle level shit, but they do have guns. And I've played Far Cry. And when you combine like fundamentalist religious stuff and violence, it doesn't go well. And we've seen this historically too. Like we have, it's not a great situation. It's really not. You know, sometimes you have these organizations where once they see that things are not going their way, let's just say it doesn't go well. Doesn't go well. I Googled that. Like, I decided, you know, it's like, oh, this game is going down the road of cults. Let's Google that stuff. It's bad. Don't Google it. Some of the stuff I already knew, but some of the other stuff I was like, oh yeah, that was also a thing, and that was also a thing, and that was also a thing. And I didn't need to be reminded of every horrible cultish incident in history. So, let's like guerrilla tactics. That would be fantastic. But somehow I don't think this game is going to have a sneak feature. And if they did, I'm horrible at sneak features. I always get found out. This is not going to end well.
Karen. Hi.
Also, the name Karen.
Okay. I don't know if you
considering
want to do this,
everything, it's horrible.
But I have an idea.
Oh, you do have an idea.
I think school must be over by now, but Lisbeth will stay at the church with Daniel for his special classes.
Oh,
That'll give us
fuck.
time to sneak into the compound before we get to them.
I just want to say another thing that historically has not been great is organized religion and organized religious leaders giving special class moments with young children. Historically, that has not been great, which is why my brain immediately goes, oh, damn.
Be on the lookout. Keep watch in case it all goes to shit. Sean, stay on the walkers.
Sounds like a plan.
One more thing. We have to get my sister too. Sarah Lee.
Really, Jacob? Come on, man.
Why not?
She's with your parents.
I have a lot of thoughts on this. First of all, Jacob still has that very timid body language. It seems like he is so anxious. Like, even just like ask this question, right? I wasn't paying enough attention to his shoulders to see if he was like really hunched over, but like he's playing with his hands a lot. He looks anxious. And he was that way before whatever episode it was. He was that way before, where he just seemed timid. He seemed like he was trying to make himself small. He didn't talk a lot. I don't see a problem with trying to get his sister. It seems like he sees why this cult, religious organization, town, pick your word, is not healthy. And he left before for that reason. But then, like, I guess if I'm piecing things together, like, that caused conflict with his family, because his family is obviously still here. And it seems like he is looking at it as though he doesn't want his sister to grow up in this environment and potentially experience the same religious trauma that he experienced. There's also the element of his sister's illness. We have historically seen some fundamentalist religious groups where they don't allow their members, especially their children, to seek help medically. And kids have died from that. And so there's a part of me that wonders if she is getting proper medical attention in this community. Some of this could also be like general logistics. I could also be just totally reaching. Some of this could also be like written well enough that it's like subtle things that the writers and the developers are doing, but they're not just going to flat out say that this is what they're doing. Subtext. That's the word for it, subtext. I think this is really hard. And this is something that we see in real life. God, there's so many tangents. But when we are the older child or an adult at a certain point, and we see our siblings growing up in an environment like with our like being raised by our parents in an environment that we don't think is healthy, that's a lot of conflict, because a lot of times then we're in this situation where we love our parents, but we don't love what they're doing, and we can see within ourselves the impact of those parental choices. Like we can recognize that that is traumatic, and then we feel powerless to stop that from happening to our siblings who we also love. That is so much conflict, and that is such a hard thing to try to reconcile or wrap our heads around. And sometimes people decide to stay in an unhealthy situation, like because of their siblings, to try to be that protective sibling or person. And sometimes people decide to leave. And the idea with that being, I'm going to be this haven. I'm going to be this safe place. So once my siblings leave, I will be the place that they can go to, basically. But either way, and I'm these are super generalizations, because of course there's more than two choices. I said that earlier. Either way, these are extremely difficult choices to make because of all these conflicting opinions about, I love this person, but I don't love what's happening. But this is the person who's making this choice. There's a lot going on here. This game is like, you want to see a kid get hit by a car? You want to see a dog die? You want to see fundamental religious shit? We got it all. I'm never going to underestimate a Life is Strange game again.
I know. Please, listen, Sean. She's not safe here. She's sick. They believe in everything Elizabeth says. And she says she'll cure Sarah with prayers.
Oh, no.
I know you understand, right?
Damn, Jake.
We need his help too, Sean.
Okay, Jake.
I'm sorry.
I'm...
Are you saying you're only going to get this kid, another kid, who's like the same age as your brother? You're only going to get... If we are trying to get our brother out of this environment, we recognize that it's not healthy, not great. But then we look at another kid and we're like, oh, but you can stay. Like, if it's not healthy for one kid, isn't it not healthy for another? I really don't see the problem with trying to get her out.
Listening.
Elizabeth knows what's wrong with Sarah Lee. We need to find her medical record.
Why does she have her medical record?
Then I'll go get Sarah Lee while you get Daniel. Okay?
Fine.
If the Reverend has her medical record, that means she has seen a doctor, and the doctor has like diagnosed her. But the Reverend, like the people who can get your medical records are like parents, and they have to like request it, and then the doctor has to like hand it over. So like they went through that whole process, and the parents like handed it over to the Reverend, and then the parents like didn't do the treatment. Potentially because the Reverend said you don't need it. But then the Reverend held on to the medical record? Oh.
Sure.
I'm gonna trust you on this, Jacob. All good for you, Karen.
What if Daniel won't go with you?
That's a question.
He will. I know him.
He might want to see Mom. That would be a very powerful motivator. But we have like two opposing forces at this point, because the Reverend has a very powerful hold over Daniel at this point. But the idea of seeing Mom is also a very powerful motivator. This is not going to go well. This is going to go horribly. And we get to watch it all. Yay! Hopefully. The ending to Far Cry is not great. I don't want to spoil it, but it's not great. I just don't want that to happen. I don't think Life is Strange games go in that direction, but let's hope they don't. That's the last thing we need.
Karen?
I'm in place. I can see the whole camp.
Oh my god.
Let me know if you need anything.
It is like...
Be careful, Sean.
It is like Far Cry.
Got it. Thanks.
It's like Far Cry, but like... Because like Far Cry is what? I don't know what genre it is. I don't know how you classify it. It's a first-person shooter. But you can like choose people to be on your team, right? And it's been a while since I've played it. Inevitably, one of the people you can choose on your team has to be a sniper. or a scout or something. It's like that's what we've done. We have Jacob on our little team. I think you can have like 2 teammates eventually. Anyways, Jacob's one of the people on our team. And then we have a sniper as one person on our team. That's exactly what it feels like.
We gotta be careful now. If anything happens, let me do the talking, okay?
Yeah, of course.
I am not gonna be great at that, Jacob. Because I've already paused this game to talk. I'm gonna guess 10 times. And I'm probably wrong. It's probably higher than that. This is like a weird over and under game. I'm betting over. I talk a lot. I have a lot of opinions, Jacob. I'm gonna have a really hard time letting you talk. But you know the culture of this group. Oh, conflicting opinions.
Let's get this over with.
Okay, Elizabeth's house is right behind the church, so in and out.
The one that smelled of bacon and bread.
Okay. And you sure Lisbeth will have those files on your sister?
Watch out, Sean. There are people right outside.
This is not a comment on the people right outside, because of course they would be. I think that the Reverend has those files because if the Reverend's goal with all of this is to hold the power and the control over the town, over this community, she has to be the one who holds all the cards. Why don't hover over exit to main menu? Don't do that accidentally. If she were to have the file somewhere else, she wouldn't have the power and the control anymore. So I think that the files are somewhere that she spends a lot of her time, somewhere that, so like her home, or if she has like an office in the church, because anything that helps her gain or keep that power and control, I imagine that she keeps close to her.
Oh, shit. How many?
Just 3.
Is that
A man with his kid on one side, and a woman alone on the other.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's
Thanks.
someone on the playground. I see
People
movement.
aren't supposed to come and go around the church once the service is over. Better to avoid them if we can.
What's the house way over there? Can I go that far? Oh, I can call her.
So, did you grow up out of here?
No, in another community back east. When Elizabeth came out here to start Haven Point, my folks followed her and brought me along.
Must have been hard on you.
Just like connected
Kinda.
communities.
8-year-olds don't want to go to church all day.
I can't just keep. Okay. That house is nothing, apparently. Okay. So we actually have to go in this gate. It's also interesting that the entire community, from what I can see, is gated up. Maybe it's just the church. Should I follow you? There's a woman by herself to the right, they said? Okay.
Karen, everything all right?
Yeah, don't worry about me. I found the best hiding spot. The view is kind of great.
Cool. Be careful, though.
Not that I don't care. Not that I don't care about Karen. That name is either a wonderful choice or an awful choice. Not that I don't care, but I was hoping that she could remind me again where everybody is, because I've already forgotten when I got distracted by the house. This is gonna go wonderfully.
You never know.
Thanks, Sean. I will.
Because there was, what, a woman by herself on this side somewhere? Oh, there she is. I see you smoking, or whatever it is you're doing. That's the house that has the bread and bacon. I don't think I can sneak. Can't I just go along the other side of the house? That's not suspicious at all. Just creep along behind the cars and then the house. Yeah, doesn't that feels like a... Stop rattling the gate. Yeah, like we can just hide this way. I can't. Oh, I can. Okay. Yeah, I am stuck. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. Not. God. Am I allowed to say God damn it in here? I can look at the car.
This place feels so different when it's empty and silent.
It's not that empty and silent. There are like squirrels hopping on the fence. It bothers me. We're just, okay, around the car. Just gonna go this way. Break line of sight. Sort of. You can't see me, lady. Okay. I am getting stuck on these things that are supposed to stop cars, not people. Just gonna be super casual. Stop it! It's unfair somehow. Because there's fairness and rude. Nobody here but us squirrels. What sounds do squirrels make? Chitters? Chitter, chitter. Stop it! There's a bird going like, ha! You can't sneak, bitch. Yes, I can. Kind of. Look, I made it around! Look! Yay! Don't turn around. Just super casual. With my eye patch.
Okay. There it is. Looks
Oh.
empty.
Let's hope so.
Luckily for us, we never close our door. A closed door is a closed heart, she says.
The door looks pretty close to me. Also, like, you're hiding away a child's medical record. Where else do you hide that behind closed fucking doors? Is it actually open? Or did you mean... Oh, we're gonna open it and she's gonna be in there.
Can't believe Daniel really lives in this depressing house.
Okay.
We did it. Now we have a little bit more time.
Yes, we do. Nice work. So where are the files?
Right there, in her office.
That's closed.
Of course it's locked.
Yeah.
Her open
Something about it closed, aren't?
door speech is just another lie.
Thank you.
We gotta find a way in.
Fuck. Think there's a key somewhere?
Maybe she's too cautious not to have a spare set around.
Oh, we can investigate so much. Also, mind you, they have guns. And I say guns plural because there's probably a lot of them.
So artless. Are you okay, Jake?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just so full of memories and stuff.
Confide and convince? 15 steps to a good speech.
Ew.
Yeah. Nice read for a saleswoman.
It's very like, here's a manual to manipulate people.
Evenings in here must be so much fun.
I was thinking, let's search the couch. Like, maybe she dropped her key like we dropped spare change, but we can just comment on the overall ambiance of the room.
Lisbeth sure likes to be on pictures.
Without a face, but yes. I would think that we would just close the curtains since people can see us. But apparently I'm not the worst at being sneaky if they didn't think of that. Chores list.
Whoa. This place is worse than army camp.
Cleanliness is next to godliness. That has a lot of emotions. There's a lot there. So basically, like, kind of like implying that whenever I hear stuff like that, to me it always feels like there's this implication that we've somehow sinned if we don't do things like chores, I guess, in this instance. It's not directly saying that, but that's always the feeling behind it. It also doesn't feel like it has room for this idea of, oh, I'm mentally drained today, and maybe I don't have the energy to do dishes. It feels like a lot of perfection, but then you add in that religious spice to it. Also, why is Daniel the only one who has chores? Daniel's household duties: make bed every morning, clean dishes after every meal, and it's a lot of like every. Vacuum haul and room weekly. I guess that one's weekly. Yeah. Take out trash Monday. Wash hair every 2 days. Are you gonna fucking check literally every 2 days? Help with Sunday laundry. Count your blessings daily. So like so much of this again is so rigid that when we grow up this way, we don't learn to have forgiveness, ironically, or grace, not religiously, in the sense of like, if we're tired, if we're exhausted, if we're having a day where maybe we need some mental health, like a mental health day, we don't feel like we are allowed to have that because this is all we know. And this is therefore what we think every day, every week has to be like. But if not doing chores would actually be the most helpful thing for us, we don't know what that would look like.
Coaxing lesson 1. Get Daniel his favorite cereal.
But then give him a shit ton of chores?
And I thought Claire and Steven were old-fashioned.
Is there a sound?
The moat and the bean.
What is doctors know? Medication. Also, I don't feel like very often we actually physically get our prescriptions from our doctors anymore. For the sake of the story, though. Patient name. So for the Reverend, prescription antibiotics for yeast infection. I don't feel like we would have to know that, or are supposed to know that. Atolve for stress and anxiety. 0.5 once daily is needed. So anti-anxiety medication? I don't that medication doesn't feel real. I guess it doesn't matter, but like, I'm a curious bitch. It's not a real medication. Google suggests like word unscrambling things. So something for stress and anxiety. So we're getting this different picture of this Reverend. My brain died. If we have a book on how to give convincing speeches, for example, that implies that she doesn't know that. A deficit, if you will, a weakness. It's not the face that she shows the world. So we're getting this picture that this very convincing face that she shows the world is not really her. If you always have to be this very charismatic leader, who do you confide in? Like, it almost feels like it's not safe to confide in anybody. Taking medications is something that there's no shame in. Like, there's not a bad thing inherently, but a lot of times when we do that, we see it as like society looks at that as a bad thing, which is part of the mental health stigma. But inherently, this is this idea that like we're struggling with some kind of anxiety. But that, again, is not the face that she shows the world. She's not the kind of person who is going to her congregation saying, hey, let's talk about mental health. Let's talk about stress. Let's talk about anxiety. Because, like, I have a hard time with that, too. So let's talk about it, right? That's not the kind of leader that she seems to be. She seems to be the kind of person who's like, you know, I don't sin. I don't do anything bad. I am perfect. So this doesn't really fit the image of her. Again, like, not that taking medication is bad by any means, but she's struggling with something. And that doesn't fit the idea of perfect that she's trying to show the world. I was hearing something. The fridge. So, why would we look at the fire extinguisher? Bathroom, bedroom? Oh, I don't want to look at our bedroom. Sure, let's look at the fire extinguisher.
Might be enough to open that door.
Oh, that's how we can look at it. I don't want to do something super loud, though, and attract people. Are we going to take the scissors?
Daniel's haircut makes much more sense now.
It's literally a bowl cut. We can look at the pills.
This is a lot of pills. Especially for someone who doesn't believe in science.
Fair. Also, that seems like more than one medication, right? The thing for the yeast infection is probably like a one and done kind of thing. God, just like take all of your antibiotics. Like the full course. Don't stop early just because you feel better.
Sean, is everything all right in there?
I'm talking!
Yes.
But also, like, then we would have, so once the antibiotics are done, we'd have like one medication, like, so like one pill bottle for the anxiety meds. That's more than one pill bottle.
We're trying to get into her office. She's locked it up, so it has to be there.
Don't rush me.
I'll let you know if I see anything unusual.
I want to
Got it.
explore. Poke around. God, don't touch the organ. Look, don't touch, they're loud.
Did she teach Daniel how to play this?
I don't know. Just because it's here doesn't mean she taught him how to play it. Why is there, like, chicken wire on the window? Feels like a prisoner's room then, doesn't it? Religious icon. Oh.
Nothing here. Does she even believe in any of this?
Oh, that's a question. Find anything interesting there, Jacob? That's really empty, actually. Yeah, why is this here?
Nice prison view, dude.
I would love to hear Sean tell this, like, use so many very teenager type phrases I imagine in her eyes, where it's like, dude and yo. Oh my god.
I swear, even her bed looks stern.
Is it like the militaristic type, what is it? Hospital corners? Book. And miracles.
Yeah, that will definitely explain what's going on with Daniel.
Oh, I could just read the cover. I forget that every time they have a book in this game.
Okay. What the? She's completely obsessed with his power.
Well, yeah, because it's a miracle, right? You get 3 of them and you're a saint. Daniel tried after using his gift. Nothing gives him energy after. New diet? Tried what after using his gift? He acts on his own. Look, yeah, he's a kid. Scripture won't impel him. Yeah. More prayer, more study. It's this idea of, if I'm more strict with him, somehow he'll listen more. Instead of, let's have conversations. Let's let him be a kid within reason. Danielle pouty today after lesson. Spare the rod and spoil the child. Fuck. Not yet. Must show grace. Trust in the Lord. So if I'm reading this right, she's mentally debating, should I hit him? Because he was pouty. But then she's like, her argument with herself isn't about let's not hit kids, because hitting kids is only negative reinforcement, and it doesn't, like, yes, kids may stop doing the thing that you want them to do, but it just makes them resentful towards adults. And then it teaches them that violence is okay. And then they, continue to have generational trauma because then they do that to their kids because they don't know what else to do. There's no positive reinforcement here through what I've read through so far. Absolutely none. No conversations about it. It's more just it's like Daniel isn't a person. So why would we talk to him? It's like he's a pet. And my pet isn't doing what I want my pet to do. Should I change his diet? My pet isn't listening. So here's the negative thing. It's almost like, let me rub his nose in the pee. Oh, should I hit him? No, it wasn't bad enough yet. But if it keeps up, I'll fucking hit him. I did cry today watching The Miracles. So that's more about how it impacts you than anything else. But what about Daniel? The child must be a vessel. So again, Daniel is not a person. Daniel is just a container. What will he deliver onto us and when? That's sad. There's a lot of drawers in this desk. Key? I want to keep searching the drawers, Sean.
Okay.
No.
I found a key.
No.
Let's try it.
No, not yet. Okay, good. I can keep searching.
Oh, shit. Looks like the Reverend Mother got to this letter before Jake.
Oh. So she knows that Karen is somewhere here. Jacob, thank you so much for telling me about Daniel. Fuck, so the Reverend knows that Jacob's like a traitor, essentially. Mutineer. Thank you so much for telling me about Daniel. I'm on my way to Haven Point now, and please let Daniel know, without getting him or you in trouble, that his family has not forgotten him. I don't know where Sean is, and I hope we can find him too. I hope the best for you, and if you need anything, do not hesitate to ask for help. I'm there. Take care, Karen. Fuck. Jacob is screwed. Trying.
What a great fucking family portrait.
Well, it's probably not a family portrait. It's more like, what else am I going to draw, right? It's interesting to me that he drew himself at the same height as her.
She sure likes to gaze at her own success.
Maybe that's all she feels that she has at this point. Former uprising church pastor founds Haven Point. Haven Point Church gains in popularity.
Whoa. They kicked her out of church?
Damn!
Now they're thirsty.
For what? Is that why she's so desperate for a miracle? From Michael Bloom to Lisbeth Fisher. Dear Reverend Fisher, this is Michael Bloom, and I know it's been a long time since we last talked, and I know that our talk was not a happy one. Despite our differences, we all know you were a devout spirit to be reckoned with. Nobody has been surprised by your words and deeds touching so many people. I hope you believe it when I say we are all proud of you. But we are also sorry and ashamed for asking you to leave the church without understanding the power of your faith. So, like, we asked you to leave, but now that we see this miracle, we want you back because it benefits us and our church. As we need to remind ourselves, mistakes can be life lessons. Even prideful deacons should be humbled before the Lord's wisdom. We hope you find in your heart to forgive us, and we would be honored to host you for a visit anytime you wish. Bless you, Michael. It's interesting too that she printed that out. Like a reminder for herself.
Don't see anything of interest.
Except she smokes. Doesn't sound like that's the kind of thing that we would want to do if we are trying to be without sin. Daniel's room.
Daniel's room?
Yeah.
Man. It's depressing.
Well, Lisbeth doesn't believe in material possessions, so...
But she owns a fucking computer to print her email from. She smokes. She owns a book on how to give whatever speeches. That's the word.
You need to decorate your house like a prison.
So he has to go through her room to get out. I don't know what the other door goes to. Maybe a bathroom. Daniel's sweater, yeah.
At least he didn't throw it away.
It's all packed up.
Petty'd like to have it back.
Maybe.
Once he's out of this mess.
We haven't talked to him. Anything else in this closet? Dad's blanket. Oh, that's the blanket that was taken.
At least he had a memory from home.
Probably don't have a lot of things from our dad left anymore.
He looks happy. Fuck. I can't believe I missed it.
I mean, he wanted friends, he wanted kids his age, but he also wanted his brother. Just because he looks happy in this moment doesn't mean the two things can't be true. Also, if the Reverend wants to keep Daniel there, I wouldn't be surprised if she was picking and choosing people to surround Daniel so he had friends, so he felt like he was happy there. Just like putting that particular picture there, so he is reminded about how happy he is there instead of a picture of his brother, where it's kind of like, here's the thing you don't have. What's this assignment?
Is she forcing him to do this? Why is he accepting all that?
Memorizing Bible verses. It's interesting that the only one that pops up if you choose to read it is something from Revelations. To those whom I love, I rebuke and discipline. So be earnest and repent. Revelations 3:19.
Happy birthday, Daniel.
Don't do that. It's, I mean, I could see him doing this because he probably doesn't feel like he has a lot of choice.
Shit. People are really all over his power.
All the words that are underlined are like
So much for
faith-based.
secrecy.
Except for like feel. Here's my number if you want to talk. Dearest Daniel, I know you may never read this, but I had to reach out after witnessing your Holy Spirit last week. I'm a sinner. Okay. I have not been a church-going woman for years, but I heard a story from my neighbor about Elizabeth Fish. Partial credit. And your miracles. I could feel the Lord whisper to me then, and then I drove all the way from Truck Tree to Haven Point. When I saw your angel face, I knew my faith was coming back. You showed us that God is alive and working through Daniel. You raised the cross like you raised Jesus. I have found my faith again, and am more strong than ever. You were sent to prove that God's love is real. I am saving my money to see you again. And pray I can be of service forever. Your servant, Lori Conway. P.S. If you want to talk, here's my number. If we go with like very traditional religious belief systems, inherently within those systems, everybody's a sinner. So like, but when you hear this group talk about it, it's like saying that's bad. It's like, how is that different than anybody else? But when you have a reverend who has said, oh, but I'm not a sinner, and Daniel is a vessel of God, which is like its own thing, that means that everybody else who is a sinner is bad. Like there's this dynamic where we have people who are being told that they are bad because they're a sinner, which is like inherently just like the baseline concept of being human. Then there's all that shame, blame, and guilt that comes with inherently just being human. That's what that means. And so it's like a weird worship that is happening with Daniel and with the Reverend. That's being created because of the language that's being used and things like that. Like, and again, this is part of like why it benefits the Reverend to keep Daniel around. She's very motivated to keep Daniel because it creates more of a following and inherently more money. Let's face it, people are driving over, paying money to see Daniel because of what they believe as far as like what Daniel means to them. And if we want to be extra cynical, let's not forget that religious groups don't have to pay taxes. So that puts like an extra element on like the money aspect of this. He's still a child. Why would you give him your number?
What is this? Daniel Fisher?
Oh!
No, that's total bullshit. And creepy.
Oh my god! You know I said before that she was like, I said before how she was acting very maternal, acting like a mother to Daniel. Well, no fucking shit. God. This feels like grooming. It does. I had to look up the definition of grooming. Befriending and establishing an emotional connection with the child and sometimes the family to lower the child's inhibitions. And this adds with the objective of sexual abuse. I don't get the feeling of sexual abuse from this. Of course, if we're honest, that isn't always the case inherently with grooming. I did add the comment earlier that like historically, religious leaders and like younger children, not great. And there's grooming with that as well. And the reason why I say this doesn't feel like there's that sexual grooming, the sexual aspect of the grooming, is because the way that this reverend is benefiting from it. She's benefiting by Daniel being connected to her. So I feel like this is more about grooming him. So like, lowering his inhibitions, getting him to see her as family, getting him to want to be around her, like that type of grooming type stuff. So that way he wants to be with her. So almost like he would be motivated to choose her over his brother. That type of grooming, because again, it benefits her immensely to have a miracle child. She gets a larger community. She gets more money. I think like that makes more sense to me as far as the grooming aspect goes, right? So when Sean's like, well, why would he do this homework? Because he's being groomed to do that. This idea of how she motivates him. Oh, I don't like this. Oh, I don't like this. Oh. Oh, Finn stuff. And then I got immediately distracted.
This is quite the change from Power Bear and friends.
But again, part of the grooming. If part of the grooming is the religious aspect, if you groom with the religious stuff first, and that's like a part of the grooming stuff, oh, I don't like this. And every time I throw this... Stop looking at the closet. Every time I throw this stuff out here, there's a part of me that sits here and goes, I really hope I'm wrong. What do you have under your pillow? Which implies that it's supposed to be secret.
They're so cute.
Does Daniel have a crush? Wait.
They're so cute.
This is the only one in color. He's also like, he has a genuine smile. Let me take that with me. Oh, it's a souvenir. These are not in color, and he's not smiling. He's just like, he exists. Like, you know, like big ol' arms going like, yay, crosses or whatever the fuck, right? Like, there's not a smile. Where's that other drawing? That's writing. Excuse me. Drawings. Here's the drawings. Let's look at this one.
What a great fucking family portrait.
Yeah. There's somewhat of a smile, but it's not the same. It's not the same smile. That other drawing with him and Sarah, that feels more authentic than this one. There is an element of therapy called play therapy where that's usually done with younger kids. It's not my specialty. I don't work with kids as much. But the idea is that sometimes you can kind of like look at kids will sometimes draw literally how they see the world because we play out how we see the world, right? And sometimes what that means is we will draw out the dynamics of what we see. That's why I find it interesting that he draws himself the same height as her. And it makes me wonder if could I be reading into this too much? Totally. I'll own that. And this is the kind of stuff where if I was working with a client who was a kid and I was doing play therapy with them, this is the kind of thing where I would start to wonder this stuff if it was a pattern over and over again. I don't have enough information right now to know if this is a pattern. But what we do know is that Daniel is entirely aware of his power. He's aware of the impact that this power can have. He fucking raised that tree root. Like, he knows it. He drew himself, though, at the same height as an adult. The same height as an adult who I'm sure he has seen with great charisma, who can convince and manipulate an entire community of people. And he draws himself at the same height as her, so I wonder if he sees himself as being almost equal to her in terms of power. Different type of power, but still power. That's why I commented on that. But again, the only picture that had a genuine smile and color was the one with Sarah. All these others are just like, Jesus is cool. It's like those Uncle Sam ones where it's like, vote for Jesus. And that bottom left one makes me think it could be Sarah, but again, it's not the same because it's almost like he knows who will see it. Is that your idle animation, Sean? I'm not done looking at that stuff, Jacob. Okay, well, while Jacob is in my way, this is a good place to stop. Because I have talked a lot. Oh my gosh, there's so much in this game. So much in this part of the game. We have learned a little more about the Reverend. Let me pause. Well, Jacob's not in my way. We've learned a little more about the Reverend. And that they put in a good show for the rest of the world, but they are having some struggles that, you know, we gotta keep that shit buried deep down kind of a thing. Also, I get this feeling of grooming and I don't like it. Don't like it. That's no bueno. And I really hope, you know, I throw these theories out there and they're just theories, but I really hope that they're not true. Oh, it feels wrong, feels gross. Don't like it. And there is this question lingering in the air of, will Daniel come with us? Yes, we can talk about Sarah, especially if we have Sarah with us. Considering that picture, I feel like Daniel is more likely to come with us, plus our mom. But it's still a question. The fact that it's a question says a lot. Ooh. I would love to hear your thoughts on the game and the video, and I'll see you next time.